All right, so here we go with video number 3. Today we're going to talk about Chia on Raspberry Pi. I'm going to go over pretty much everything. Talk a little bit about plotting. We'll pull up the Windows GUI. Talk a little bit about that usage, but there's quite a few videos online about Windows. There's not a lot that directly talks about how to do this on a Raspberry Pi. And it's surprisingly efficient, very, very low power usage. And going through the logs on my farms, I don't see any degradation in speed. I get plenty of proofs, plenty of speed. I'm just using the Pi right now to farm some chia forks. Currently I'm using hpool. Couldn't see any consistent income solo mining. I think Chia came out with force that nobody really anticipated, and that space growth was quite overwhelming. So if you're not a multiple petabyte farmer, you've got pretty much no choice other than to play the lottery or to join one of the unofficial pools. Doesn't look like pools will be coming anytime soon, unfortunately. But when they do, I'll consider replotting for them. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to SSH into Raspberry Pi. And we've set up a account specifically for this demo here. So what we're going to do to begin with is we got to get the Chia repository. So we're just going to clone that from GitHub. So what we'll do here, git clone, and I'm going to paste in the address for Chia blockchain. That's going to download it here. Oh, of course I was looking at the issues, so we don't need to clone that. That's going to download it into Chia blockchain folder here under our new user account. And the first thing we need to do is get into that sh install.sh. This is going to it's going to download everything, prerequisites, install everything. It's a pretty quick process, especially here. All the prerequisites have already been downloaded as I'm farming the forks on this device. It has a Raspberry Pi 4 8 gig. It is plenty. It actually is currently running 5 different forks of Chia. I haven't even looked today. Imagine there's another one out. Very, very low likelihood that one of the forks seems to have potential. But as they use your existing plots, there's really no reason not to. Hopefully, one or more of the forks will gain some traction and end up earning some cash. So we're going to go over a number of things. So basically, a couple ways you can do the example we're going to do today is going to be network mounting everything. The hpool program runs on a Windows machine that farms my my plotted drives, but no reason not to be able to plug in USB hubs and run this right off the Raspberry Pi directly. So as you see, that was pretty quick. And first thing we're going to do is we're going to activate, and that's going to get our virtual environment going. And it's new install. We're going to initialize Chia. All right, and we're gonna generate some new keys. All right, and then that's gonna give you both your addresses, and then you can use the chia key show dash show mnemonic seed if you want to see your seed and write that down. Definitely want to keep that somewhere in case you have an issue and you have to reinitialize or reinstall. So first thing we'll do here is we're going to start the node up. We're not going to get synced in this video. Syncing can take upwards of 2 days, maybe even longer. But we'll talk about how to mount the shares, how to keep the shares mounted, and so on and so forth. So now our node's running. We can do chia show -s, give us a status, and brand new, so we've got nothing. Chia show -c, show us our connections. The client itself with the DNS introducer has been pretty efficient, making 5 nodes pretty quickly. You see we've already connected to 3 nodes. So next thing we're going to do is we're going to talk about mounting in Raspberry Pi. So if you have your devices on a Windows machine, we're going to download CIFS, and that's what we're going to use to mount those. So sudo we're going to have this already installed on this machine. You see 0 upgraded, 0 newly installed. On a fresh install, it would download and install all the required files. So I'm just going to cd back to my home directory and make a new directory called plots. And we're going to mount our first drive to that directory. Now we've created a user account named Chia on our device, and that's going to be what we use to mount. It's the iDrive on this Windows machine, and we're going to mount that to Chia demo home, Chia demo. So I have to sudo that, and now we can type df. So that's going to show us quite a few. So I've got quite a bit, but you can see this one we added here. Chia plots. So we'll go to plots directory. And see what we got. So we've got quite a few plots. Now obviously these aren't created with the new mnemonic that we've made today, so that won't be usable with this account. But that's how you would mount it. And the next thing we need to do is change ownership of that file, of that directory. So we'll sudo chown -r, nobody no group plots. That'll pretty much give anybody with an account here access to that, with an account on this device access to that. So the next thing we want to do is we want to set this up to be mounted each time the Raspberry is booted, in case it goes down. Now these Raspberries, they run very solidly. This one, 7 days, but I've got a number of them that run surveillance cameras and so on that have run for months on end without issue. I'd say that 7 days is because I was installing breakers and I cut the power to the farm. So the next thing we got to do is we're going to get right into our root account, and we're going to make a file here in the etc. That's going to be called smbcreds. And in here we're going to add our username. User equals chia, and our password equals chia. Yep. Very creative. We're going to write that out. We're going to exit out. At this point, we need to take this and add this to the fstab file. Now it's nice that doing mount for network drivers, you don't need the block ID, you don't need the UUID, so we can just basically add it in the same way that we've done here. We just need to add it to the fstab file, so nano fstab. So from here, what we're going to do is we're going to put in our IP address account. Same IP that we used before. We're going to have the I directory mounted. And we're going to put that in home. Box. Have that in CIFS credentials equal c.smbcreds. In this case, we're going to do read only. Sometimes with these forks, they're open source, so we'd be fine, right? Just that's up to you. Some different triggers to tell it what kind of permissions you want it to be, what type of drive it is. In this case, it's Windows drives. And all these, we'll go back and change these permissions just to be sure. 0777. And I'll put all this in the description below. So that'll auto mount that drive when we boot the Raspberry Pi. Now the next thing, if you have, in my case, I have a Synology NAS that works a lot better with NFS mounting. So we're going to get back into our Chia demo account. We're going to sudo apt-get install nfs-common. So it's going to download the required NFS files. Now you will need to add this device's IP address to your NFS configuration on the Synology, but from that point, won't need a password. Now I'm not going to mount it because it's already mounted for the other farming that's taking place on this device, but I'll show you in our disk list where it is mounted. So what we have here, this is our Synology NAS mount. Actually, we'll just copy that, make it a little easier for us. So essentially, you would just mount that in the same procedure. But what we're going to do is we're going to get back into root. And we'll add this tab as well. That's a little bit different. We'll paste in that share. We can paste it. Put it. Plots 2. And tell it to type. That's all there is to it. It's a little different for Synology, but not difficult at all. All right, so now we have those two devices mounted. We're only going to use the first plots folder here in our demonstrations. So we would add plots, add directory, plots. I'm just going to add that directory to our plots file. Now you can also take a look at this in your Chia config. Drop down a few pages. In our harvesters. Yes, here are our plot directories. Sometimes it's just as easy to go in here and type that in, especially if looking at like this case where we have 21, 20 nano drives. It can be kind of a pain in the butt to type that in over and over again. So let's see if we've made any progress on syncing with the Chia network. All right, yeah, there we go. The network space, 117 petabytes, wouldn't that be nice? So we can tell that that's quite a far way off of reality. So what we'll look at now is we'll still talk about plotting. Now, pretty easy. You're just going to do a chia plots create K32, and we're just going to do one temporary directory. We'll use that that network drive because we're just going to cancel it. Just going over the command here. Now we'll use it for the destination and for the temporary drive. That's simple as that. It's going to bring up plotting. Don't need to be synced to plot. That was a Raspberry Pi, so this is gonna be pretty yeah. Oh, okay. Didn't have access there. There would be no reason ever to plot on a Raspberry Pi unless you had a month to get one done. And let's see if we got one here. Share over here, not with given access to it. Well, either way, no reason to plot on Raspberry Pi in the first place. So next thing we want to do is start up our farmer. This is going to go and take a look for any plots that are ours. Of course, there is none. So it's not going to find anything. But Chia. And from here, we'll tell you what you got going on. How many plots. Obviously, it's not going to be synced right now, so it's not going to be able to tell us much. Farm status play syncing, plots 0. And that space is still ridiculously low. So not too much to talk about plotting. If you want to learn about plotting, Sloth Tech TV, YouTube. It's got some great information about plotting. It's also got some great information on the new Mad Max plotter that everybody's growing very fond of. I have not used it. I'm completely plotted at this point. So I have no need to plot. I picked up a 5 terabyte drive on Prime Day, and I'm plotting that out right now, but I'm just using Swar Plot Manager on my desktop PC to finish that up. There's no reason to do anything special for that. So we've got Chia installed, syncing. We've got our plot directory added. We've got our mount points added. And it's not much more to say. I mean, we did have your, obviously you would import your mnemonic that corresponds with your plots. Mount your current plot drives. Wait for it to sync. And you'd be off to the races. Now, in Ubuntu, there's a good way to check your plots. Tail minus F. It's going to give you, it's going to follow. And then we will go to our Chia directory. Now, that is something we also would want to do first. Let's change our logging from warning to info. So we're going to go into our config file here. That's your log level here. We'll just take this and change it to info. Exit out. And we can use the tail command to look at our log file here. Now it's probably going to be throwing lots of errors because it's mounted that plot directory that's not the same as this farmer. So there you have it. Now, once it's synced and going and farmer's running, use the same command, except you grep proofs, and it's not going to show us anything now, but it will go through individually and show you your times. Now, what we'll do here is we'll mess you over to a fork just to show you what that looks like. Just activates all kind of the same. F. Init, log, debug, grep. And you can see here, this is running the chain green fork. It's kind of strange to see it 9. Currently transferring some files over the network, but shouldn't drag that down that much. But as you can see, 5 forks running on a Raspberry Pi. We're still seeing 2-second lookup times. So there it is. We're going to do a video coming up. We'll talk a little bit more about Chia. We'll get into the Windows GUI. Not a whole lot to talk about. When it comes to the Windows GUI, it's pretty straightforward. Next video is going to cover the different forks that we're running. Flax, Spare, Chain Green, Chia Rose, and Goji. All recent forks. I'm actually working on a fork right now just for fun. Probably won't go anywhere, but just a goof. Then we're going to have a video on Sentinel. We're going to have a video coming up talking about a Kosh network. We've got a deeper network device coming in, and we're going to have a video talking about that. We've had some helium miners ordered since just early April. So whenever those come in, we'll drop a video about that. Got anything specific that you would like us to look into? Leave a comment, send a message. We'll try to go from there. Really looking into what kind of things that we don't have a lot of exposure on YouTube about. Not really interested in doing things that everybody's already doing. But we'll talk a little bit about my systems, what I got going on. Next video, we're going to talk about hpool, how to set up hpool. It's without official pools, it's very difficult to make anything as far as Chia goes. And we'll just go from there. Appreciate you watching. Hopefully these videos will get better over time. Definitely my first entry into YouTube, but I didn't see any videos on Mysterium. I didn't see any videos on Threefold. Don't see any videos on Akash about setting up your own nodes. Something that I think everybody should understand is you can be a part of that without buying their products. We're going to look into a broad range of things to move forward. We'll probably talk a little bit about Ubiquity products. That's my preferred network at this time. We do the full network here. We have the cameras. We try to order as much early access as we can. Can't obviously talk about that on YouTube, but let us know what you want to see. Thank you.